There is a fragile peace in Freiburg after the defeat of Kelby Loring and the flight of Redmond Earhart and Archbishop Rosencreuz. The city recovers from a difficult autumn and prepares for an unseasonably cold winter. Logan Seeger, the son of Iron Prince Eric Seeger, has been freed from captivity. Chosen as the successor of Nicholas Trogg, the Iron Princes must now be swayed to recognize his legitimacy and ensure his succession does not upset the delicate balance of power between them. The Iron Princes have not gathered since the end of the 30 Years' War. With no imperator and no successor, Eisen sits on the perpetual brink of a violent struggle for power. The Iron Princes' agendas are their own. So we close in on a Freeburg of several years ago. Um, the War of the Cross is still ongoing, and for the city of Freiburg, that means that Nicholas Trogg is not yet in charge. Um, and while the city still exists, it's a fraction of its current size. And throughout its history, it has never really been under anyone's command for long. Uh, what that means is that while Trog was the first one to formalize the lack of laws, Freiburg itself has been without them in any serious capacity for some time. And in part, that's also due to the fact that its leaders were nobles and they were called off to the war. Um, and in that time, we we fly down like a crow to where we see the end result of a youthful Gav in a street fight against a member of the Mad Wolves that is years older than him. Um, it is not a fight that Gav is winning, and it's not a fight that Gav is going to win. He has the disadvantage in strength and size and speed, and while he is stubborn, um, all he is, but in a way, Gav has won because what he was hoping to do was to keep the attention of the boys that made up the gang of the Mad Wolves on himself so that others, younger, smaller, and weaker, could escape. But that has come with a cost. He feels, like the mailed fist of a Panzer hand like crashing against the side of his head, like the crack of skull and cheekbone. And he doesn't know it yet, but this is the single hit that will lead to him having one eye that's kind of continually blown out. It's the result of like childhood nerve damage. And as if that wasn't enough to like add insult to injury when he crashes to the ground, the kid who is very angry about the new scar that he has across his face that Gav has given him continues to kick him in the ribs, continues to kick him in the hips. Um, until there's the cock of a firearm. Um, Gav's world is spinning, but he sees somebody in the shadow of the alley that he's in, step into the place surrounded by half dozen more of the Mad Wolves, pistol trained at the leader, and the man says, "That's enough." The Mad Wolf kind of he says, "You don't run things here, and you don't say when enough is enough." Um, there's a gunshot and like a burst of blood from the kid's knee. He's probably 15, 16. And uh before he can even like lunge at him or anybody else, the gun is dropped and another one is drawn just as smoothly from the belt at his waist. He says, "I said that was enough. Right now you have a limp. Would you like to leave here without the ability to walk?" Um, and uh, the other Mad Dogs, like, they're giving that look that's like, we are going to like take our revenge at some point, but does not seem to be directed at Gav. It seems to be directed at whoever this person is that has appeared. Um, and he leans down over Gav. I'm going to bring up his picture real quick. Um, if I can find it. All sorts of disproportion. All right. Are you able to see that?
Yep.
Okay. He's Eisen, but very, like closely cropped beard. He's still, you know, his hair puts him maybe in his 20s or like very early 30s, right? Um, there's not much in like the way of wrinkles and everything. And he looks at Gav bleeding, very badly hurt. Not the first time. Um, the uh Not the first time he's been hurt, but this is definitely more traumatic injuries than he's had before. Um, and he kind of like and like slides arms under him and just like lifts him and carries him out of the alleyway. There's not been a lot of kindness in Gap's life. Does that make sense? There's not been a lot of like strangers who come to the rescue, you know what I'm saying? And most have had a price or like a, something that he's going to owe them a favor, something of the kind. Um, and it's like hours later that Gav is kind of coming out of the doctor's office in the main area of like Steinhalt, with a bandage, ice, the arm that was broken set, the leg that was like it turns out it wasn't broken, thankfully, but definitely uh, it needed some uh, it needed not a like cast, but like a splint because of how badly twisted it had been. Um, and the man is there, and just he looks at Gav like up and down, um, kind of like tilts his head, like looks at like the eye. He says, "Think you're going to be stuck with that?"
As long as it still works.
Um, he gives a nod. He says, "You might need something for when it's real bright."
I will manage.
Have you had anything to eat lately?
It takes Gav a few seconds to answer. This week, I think.
He looks kind of, there's a definite grimace, and he just kind of he fishes into a vest. Um, he says, "You got all your teeth still?" Enough of them. And he hands him a piece of what Gav is later going to find out is hardtack. It's like, it like is edible as a like technicality.
It's technically food.
Um, but I mean, it's like very sustaining. It's designed for long voyages and stuff like that. But it is a cracker that is designed to suck all of the moisture out of your mouth. And most people eat it by like, throwing it into a cup and letting it kind of discorporate enough that it becomes a
Soak
broth.
up all the beer.
Yeah. Um, he says if you're going to be picking fights with boys that are bigger than you're gonna have to learn how to fight dirty.
Twice my size.
He says, but he was stupid.
Could have kicked him after the shot.
Um, he says, stupid tends to lull. Stupid tends to not notice things that it should. Things like hidden weapons, things like the weight of a couple coins in your hands, enough to make you swing harder, hit like you were bigger than you are.
Miss Jenny said I will grow into my ears.
He says, and you'll be big someday. He says, but never remember what it was like to be, never forget what it was like to be small.
Didn't get into fight for fight.
Uh, And he kind of, he like pushes himself off. He's like, tell me about it. Where are you staying?
Wherever it's warm.
And he kind of gives like a bit of a grimace. Um,
They kicked me out of the orphanage.
do you cause trouble or just too big?
Bit of both.
Says, I'll tell you what, I've got a job that I think you can do.
Da.
Um, he says, and in return, he says, while you do it, you'll have a place to stay.
He gestures to the splint. I have to pay this off somehow.
Um, he says, well, then I'll have to pay you a wage now, won't I?
Gav's eyes widen. He's never been paid in coin before.
Um, he says, I have need of somebody with a brain who can be a lookout.
I can look.
Says, if the guard come, I don't need you to try to fight them. I don't need you to do anything, he says, but tell some other people that they're coming. Um, and that's, the first job that Gav does really in the sort of darker shadows of Freeburg. Does that make sense? He has his first experience as sort of like a criminal. No, I mean, he's not a thug. That comes later. You know what I'm saying? Before then, it's just sort
Gav's
of
not
like,
even Gav's not even 10 at this
yeah.
point. Like he's Felix's age.
Um, and the places that he are asked to guard are along the riverfront. They're places that, things are being smuggled in and through the city. And he comes to know the man as just like the boss. Like he's 10, so it's not really like, I don't need another name. Boss is the name.
Mhm.
Um, and the things that he uh the things that he like helps move and helps smuggle, and he's not like doing the smuggling, he's just like watching the warehouse while it comes in. And there are other bigger thugs that are like there to guard the merchandise. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And he sees a lot of like things. He learns a lot of like the kind of ways of like the criminal world, which is like, if you're paid to guard something and you like steal from it, you're gonna get a beating at best, depending on who you're stealing from and what it is you're guarding. It could be much worse than that. As far as he can tell, though, like um, the what the man is moving seems to be like highly valuable, but it also, and for a long time, there's like not really any kind of sense of that what they're doing fills some particular role. Like people kind of, he sees them like peek into a box now and then, and people just quickly close it in a way that's like, I want no part of that. They're not like about to like snitch. They're not about to like steal some
The
booze or
less I
like
know, the
take.
better.
Yeah, it's just sort of like um, and the, at one point, um, the, as there's like a big thug in one of the warehouses who never really likes to listen to anybody around him, but he's like the biggest guy in every room he's in. And at one point he goes into one of the boxes and he like, pulls out this like glass bottle. And it's a terrarium in the sense that it's got like holes in the top and stuff, and he can see that there's like dozens of beetles that are on the inside of it, like kind of skidding around in circles. Um, and he kind of like takes a look and like he starts to reach for the cap of it, like he wants to take one out. And the boss's voice from the corner of the room, like, Gav didn't even realize he was there. Like he just let himself in quiet as a cat burglar. He says, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Those are called 10-second beetles. Because that's how many seconds you have to breathe after one's bit you. Um, And the the big guy kind of, it's like I wasn't going to take him. I just I was I was just curious. Um, the boss kind of like, this isn't a good work environment for people who are curious. Um, and he sets the bottle back like very carefully. Um, the job comes to a sort of dramatic end. It's guard breaking through a door in service to like the well, it's actually at this point in service to an Earhart, not Redmond, but his father, who actually owns the lands in these area. Um, with Gav manages to like get there, but he's almost immediately like smacked to the ground by one of the guards, while others are like moving through and into the warehouse and like tearing off the tops of boxes. And the thugs kind of like move back, hands up, as it's not Redmond but his father, who is like a thin, in every way that like Redmond was sort of like,
A pig.
yeah, his father is like this man who looks like flesh does not stick to him. Does that make sense? Like he's just sort of like he looks like a skeleton wearing a skin suit. Um, and he looks into one of the boxes, and he kind of like he rounds on one of the guards, and he says, "Where has he moved it?" And the guard's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And the uh, Earhart just like kicks over the box, and like all of them are empty. They just kind of collapse to the ground. He says, "Where is it?" And one of the guards are all kind of like lining up different thugs against walls, and they're like, "We've been here for 2 weeks guarding this place. Nobody's been in or out." And finally, Earhart turns towards Gav and just stares down the child, and he says, "Where is it? Where is the shipment?"
See, Gav is young enough that the simplicity of his mind just absolutely wears on his face. So he literally gives this guy his best, I'm too dumb to understand what you're talking about look, and kind of shrugs.
Um, yeah, and yeah, like the uh his broadsword, which looks just a little too big for him, like by virtue of his kind of like thinness, comes out and he cracks the pommel across Gav's temple, or across Gab's temple, and kind of drops him to the floor. Um, and but like the mood has shifted. Like a bunch of the guards are like clearly not comfortable with like using a kid as like somebody to torture, to gather information from. And the the dude or the man just sort of like his hands clench in fury, and he says, "See, every one of them gets sent to the gal or sent to the jail." Um, and Gav at 10 years old has his first time behind bars. It's honestly not as bad as he'd been led to believe. Like a lot of the guards who threaten to throw people in, it's relatively warm and they feed you.
And
Um,
when you're a kid, there's always going to be one guy who's willing to look out for you.
there's a few, and it's like a good way to kind of like it gave Gavin an initial kind of sense of like these are some people with at least a core of decency that I can trust later on,
Mhm.
even when I'm bigger. Um, it gave him the connections he needed after getting out to like find gangs that he was willing to run with and do work. It also gave him the street cred he absolutely needed. Like you're 10 years old, you're in jail already. You know? Um, but the boss did show up to bail him out, and the other guards as well. Like put coins down, paid for their release. Not, like in the sense of paying off their crime, just that the guard was like, "Oh, look, the door is open. How did that happen?"
Well,
Um,
time for my lunch break.
and he looks to Gav. He says, "I got to move things out of Freebird for a while."
I can find job elsewhere.
He says, "Are you good about? Are you afraid of rats?"
Hard to catch.
I know some friends who that's their specialty, and they'll give you a place to stay while you're doing
Okay, boss.
it. He kind of smiles and pats his shoulders, like, you don't have to call me that anymore.
Only name I know.
Um, he kind of like pauses as if like that has only occurred to them for the first time. I suppose that is. Um, he says, Geralt, and he extends a hand.
Gav.
And he shakes it very seriously, like as if in full recognition of that. In Geralt's worldview, Gav is now a man. Um, and that kind of like handshake is where we're gonna like close out. We're gonna jump back and open everything up. Just a little bit of Gav lore for everybody.
As opposed to Gavalor.
That is stand later on.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you everyone. Welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm. Our producer tonight is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful and compassionate Gloriosa. Our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Sindra. Before we get started, I want to give a content warning. While the spirit of Seven Sea is swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief. Eisen, our setting, is recovering from a 30-year civil war of religious differences. It may get dark sometimes, and there's no shame in bowing out if it's not a place your head can go at the moment. So without further ado, I'm going to have our savvy swashbucklers introduce themselves, starting with Gav.
That's me. Hi, I'm Gav. Actual name is Bison. Bison underscore Stonefist. I am a regular contributor on this channel, which means I have no life and I'm here way too often. And by that I mean I'm here 4 days a week. On Tuesdays, I run the strangely trauma-laden Cyberpunk Red Game Carnage Heights. If you don't understand what I mean, please watch the VOD for the last video, or just watch the whole thing. It's pretty cool. On Thursdays, I play everybody's depressed emo kid, Garrett Sakes, in our City of Mist campaign, Deviant Paradox. And on Saturday, I am one of the players in our Starforged game, Starsworn, where I play the completely legitimate pilot, um, Calvin Scooter Hobbs. Let's go with Sans next.
Yay. Hey y'all. Uh
Well,
No.
she can't even have Zoom open.
no, I can't even have Zoom
Kyle,
open
you
now.
you can't come for her while she just has Zoom open. You got to give her space.
Yeah, give me some time first. Okay. So hey y'all.
Mercy.
Hey y'all, my name is Sarah. I also go by Sans on the Discord. I am here 3 nights. I'm here a certain number of nights a week. We don't know how many for how long. I'm looking at my notes and I'm just like, can I say that one still?
I'd say that one still.
I am here on Tuesday. I don't know how much longer. As yeah, on our Cyberpunk Red game Carnage Heights. I am the DM for the full. Nope, wrong one. Deviant Paradox. City of Mist campaign. It was gonna happen, and I'm here tonight as Rosa Nix, our Strega. And sometimes I don't know how long this campaign's gonna go for or how long my character's gonna survive because that's that campaign. Of Force Blade Punks, I'm currently Supernova. I'm also working with the Scarred Adventurer on stuff and things that'll come out eventually. Let's pass it over to Ruth.
Hi, I'm Ruth. I am here on Tuesdays as Exit for now. Thursdays as
Don't take my joke.
what? I'm being honest. I'm being real. I was doing so good.
What other games are you here for?
I know how to do it. I'm here on Thursdays as Nora Smartass Avalon, and today as Runa. Watch the episode to figure out her. I'm gonna pass it to Glorious.
Hi, everybody. I am Pleas of Gloriosa, also known as Gloriosa. Glory for short. I am here technically 2 nights a week, but I'm behind the camera on Thursdays producing for that group of people. And then I'm also
You can
here.
say Chuckle Fox.
I'm also here tonight as your resident noblewoman honoring. Yeah, that's all I can, like, apparently she's a rage bait for one of the Iron Princes, but that's all I know. So anyway, let's pass it over to Hans.
Oh, I'm Rory. I play Hans, our fun and fast-running soldier boy, Ulrich, here tonight on this wonderful Sunday with these wonderful people. This is the only night I'm here at the moment. Who knows, maybe if a position opens up in another game. We'll see what the future holds. Aside
Babe, you
from...
can't say that.
I've heard there was a vacancy on Tuesdays.
I mean, I'm sure we could use more players. Ask Bison.
Oh boy. Well, aside from hanging out with these crazy people here on Sunday, I make music sometimes. You can find a bunch of it on my current SoundCloud profile. There's some old stuff, some new stuff, some half-finished stuff. And I'm hoping to get DJing here on Twitch up and running soon, TM. Other than that, I believe it is Len's turn.
Hi, folks. It's me, Matt Kyle. You found me. You can find me here on Sundays currently, playing everybody's favorite ass of Asura, Len, Herald of Doom, Costin, still kinda, I feel like. Other than that, you can find me many nights in the chat of different games, trying my best to break whoever I can on camera. Sometimes I succeed. Most of the times I get at least one. But other than that, you can find me on the Discord posting some pretty unhinged memes, mostly unhinged food memes, but I'm trying to branch out and broaden my horizons a little bit there. Everything else I do is not streamed anywhere because there's only so much of that I can take. And I guess we're over to our storyteller for the night, and I feel that this also bears, especially after last week, bears doing murderer.
Wait, who did I murder last week? Oh, right. I had to think about it.
My entire feelings, okay?
That's fair. That's
and
fair.
my trust.
So because we're kind of continuing from the last session and we're cutting straight back to Len, I'm not going to do my normal introduction because this is a relatively short period of time that we're still in scene of. So when last we had seen Len, he was with Folkfischler getting him a coat measured to his size, but he had just seen a young lady who had been hiding rage at the sign of Folkfischler, or perhaps just an Iron Prince, and who had made her way out of the shop that Upman worked at while Falk was getting measured.
Yep. Len is definitely going to be much more on guard after that little encounter than he might have otherwise been. That's the Herald of Doom kicking in again. I really should get points for that or something. But anyway,
You want to buy a
he's-
background for? We can find something for Herald of Doom.
well, we can talk about that after stream.
Sure.
But for now, he's just gonna be like, all right, Falk. Important things to know. She is very smart, very driven, and very dangerous in her own way. Do not take her lightly or treat her as some delicate flower of the court, because she will eat you alive.
I'm
That's
feeling a little attacked here.
that's
These are all positive
Very-
things in Len's view.
that's very intimidating.
That's the right approach, honestly. On the other hand, she's also unflinchingly loyal. She's very kind in her
Are
way,
we
but she's
talking
also
about-
very
is this
noble.
me? We're not.
Yes, we are, and you're not there, so stop interrupting.
I'm not. I didn't realize I was unmuted. I'm sorry.
You pulled a me.
Yeah. No.
Um,
Honestly, I would say you and her would do pretty well together, but take things slow. She's been through a lot. We've all been through a lot recently. Giant doom snakes, fighting the Wachtturms, the Inquisition. There's just been a lot. So
he says something relaxing would be ideal. And
yes,
as I understand, she's going to be attending a date to go fishing in what may well be a full dress.
probably. But honestly, I think you can still really dress that up and still show her fishing.
Yes, but it does occur to me that it's got to be a bit fancier than I had perhaps initially expected.
Well, yeah. Approach. Wow, I totally forgot about my accent, but I'm just gonna roll with it because Len doesn't actually need it. It's just an affectation.
I'll assume he's continuing to have it. It's fine.
Okay. Yes. Well, the thing is, get to know her first, and then show her that side of you, because there is something. This is going to sound weird, I suppose, but there's something good about the fact that you have kept your roots despite being an Iron Prince, when so many of them have put on airs and have forgotten where all of their power and money and everything really comes from.
I've had a number of suitors since I took up the position. He says most of them, the only interest felt like it was in my position or my wealth or my lands, which is understandable. That is the nature of most noble marriages. I think I am perhaps enough of a peasant at heart that I thought that there could be something more personal.
Well, given what happened to Katharina, I can see why you would not want that sort of arrangement for yourself if you could avoid it. And
I didn't want to put somebody through what Katharina went through.
nobody should have gone through that. But she
I
was stronger
very
than
much
any of us knew.
I very much want to see her as soon as I can, but I don't think it's safe while the other Iron Princes are here.
He's gonna look around and just lean in and be like, very soon, very, very soon, things will become even more chaotic than having all the Iron Princes in here. You wait at risk. Please keep this in mind.
If you'll bear a message to her as to where I'm staying, and act as an intermediary, I'd be greatly appreciative, so we can arrange some time to meet in a safe fashion.
I believe that I can assist in arranging that. Yes, we can I know the city quite well, and I have my ways at this point, and I believe I can get her wherever it needs to be gotten. But I would also kind of like to find her a better, safer place to stay. Um, it's A, I'm just one man, and B, I'm a man with a uh, budding relationship that might be strained by having the might have been ex
Oh,
staying in my house.
oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yes. So, um, while Rosa is a lovely, intelligent, understanding, and slightly frightening woman, and that works for me, um, I don't want to stress things.
I honestly just knowing that somebody who was faithful to her was near was an immense relief for me. Um,
I
he
did my
says,
best. I got my ass kicked, but these things happen.
um, I will I will see about making some accommodations. Perhaps if not here, then I can speak to Wilma and there's something that can be set up for her safety at the city hall.
That might be for the best. Um, I have no idea how the situation is going to turn shortly, given what's happening now and everything that is likely to be happening.
He nods. Um, well, I'm going to go look into that and make some arrangements for follow-ups as to making sure that there is what food we can send here to Freeburg.
That will be greatly appreciated.
Um, he reaches out and he puts a hand on Lynn's shoulder. He says, "You were a true friend to my sister when she needed it most."
We, I feel that we in our ways saved each other. I
He's
needed someone to care about and protect, and she needed to be cared about and protected, especially from that little shit, Ilya.
uh,
Burns in hell. All the hells. Every different religion's hells.
if you ever need employment, a position, I would I would name you to one in a heartbeat in my court in Fishler.
I appreciate that. But uh, there are very powerful forces that currently keep me here in Freiburg. Some for the better, some for the worse, but that's the way of it these days.
That is, he says, but truly, I do owe you a debt. I am not simply stating that. I am stating that there is a favor that I owe to you, and when you ask it, if it is in my power to repay it, I will.
I will keep that in mind, and I appreciate it, though I feel nothing is owed. Still, uh, it's like, so this is coming along pretty well. Now, are you planning to give her any sort of gift as well, or is it just going to be the fishing?
Well, when you put it like that, I feel I need to bring her a gift.
I am not trying to pressure you, but at the same time, I remind you, while she can be down to earth when needs be, she grew up in the courts of Montaigne. She is Her aunt is both awesome and scary, and you just definitely want to put your best foot forward. But do not think you need to drown her in presents. Just make it something thoughtful.
No, that's exactly it. I'd much prefer something meaningful personally to her. Do you have an idea as to her interests
Well,
besides writing plays?
well, there's definitely the playwriting. I don't know how much of her jewelry survived the trip here, and effects, what with the whole kidnapping by the Inquisition and all of that, and her house being ransacked, and burned. So some little trinket.
Great. You've also given me some lovely dialogue topics for our date.
Yes, yes, these are things that should come up and probably will come up if things go well. But know that none of us in this odd little coterie that we have formed have uh, how do I
She
even
was
say this?
she was kidnapped.
Yes, by the Inquisition because they believed terrible things about her, which were not true, proven not true. No, no, there's no stopping. Knock that off. It's like no, it's a very complicated thing, but know that all we have done has been to protect Freeburg itself.
Fair enough. Um,
She even faced down a Verschlingen with us, so she is no wilting flower.
Certainly not.
Look,
I'll have to think on it.
Led has never tried to be a woman's hype man before. Give him some credit. Yes, so a little gift. You've got the outfit. Like I said, I would send her a note with the color of the actual shade. I'm sure that can be provided just so she can try to match things. Still, for all that you may be trying to impress her, show her who you really are. Do not put on airs and try to be an Iron Prince.
He kind of smiles.
Be
He says, "I'm not great at that anyway."
good man, good man. They're all bastards anyway. He's gonna pat your shoulder.
He kind of smiles and he says, "I actually thought that myself once." He says, "Now I think it's an oversimplification."
Simple people, simple concepts. But I'm pretty sure most of them are actually bastards.
Says, "Well, let me see if I can find something appropriate." Um, and he, you guys kind of like break there after that. Still have
Yeah.
Thrandia to go check in on. But you're probably one of the few people that have the resources and the animal senses as needed to follow up on the person who's here before, to potentially chase them through a city even after they've left. But I don't know if that's something that you feel like he's going to
Oh
do
no,
now,
that's
or
absolutely what Len's gonna do. He's not gonna abandon Falk, but as soon as he's got the opportunity, he's going hunting.
okay. So here's what I would like. This is, I know it's not a combat application, but because it is a very story necessary one, you are going to be spending the drama die for it. Tell me if you're doing like a partial transformation or a full transformation to an animal, what animal, and because you're going to need it for like the smell.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to go full on cat here because wandering around with the cat face is just not that's just gonna be weird.
Okay. So go ahead and give me the cat formation transformation roll. I think that's a really easy one for you. But then after that, you're going to get the bonus dice from your cat form as you make a hunter roll to track them.
So yeah, I'm definitely kitty kitty. And then
Okay.
I'm making a naturalist roll.
Yep.
Okay. So 2 plus, and that's wits plus.
Yes. And we're going to
Okay.
do this right and get your actual cat and I can see what bonuses it gives you. So,
Well, I naturally have keen senses.
yep. Yep. So in this case, the cat form actually gives you keen hearing and night vision, but I'm going to rule that gives you enough of a sense of smell to use it as track. You're just using your keen senses and no other bonus. Does that make sense?
Okay, yep. So
And you'll get a bonus on keen hearing or night vision if those come up. So,
okay. 3 now because I have my wits last game. 21.
okay. So, that is enough to get you there, but it takes a while. So you follow the track of the woman, and shortly after leaving the merchant's quarter, she disappears at an entrance to the sewers. Um, from there, you smell her scent crisscrossing all over the place down there. The problem is not catching your scent, it's catching the right
Most
scent.
recent set. Yeah.
Does that make sense? So, like, you find it and you realize, like, she's been using the sewers to move across Freeburg to come out in different districts. What takes several hours is that you're very clear. There's like multiple smells that like keep accompanying her that you can't make out. Does that make sense? Um, until you find the area under the sewers, that you realize that
Is there a
she
lot of
keeps
gunpowder under here?
returning to. It's different than that.
Oh.
What you find is raw sulfur. What you find is raw charcoal and so much fertilizer that, like, it's not fertilizer. It's she's taking genuine human waste from the sewers. She's like built an entire screening system so that she can take it to turn into nitrate. She's not storing black powder down here. She's making it. And she's making it on a scale that could arm an army.
Oh balls. Well, Catherinia's gonna have to wait. Because I'm gonna memorize the track here and
Here's the other problem. Most
Oh.
of it is missing. What she has in raw resources is enough to like probably supply like 10,000 men with like rounds of ammunition suitable for combat. But the actual barrels of gunpowder that have been made of it are gone.
and I didn't find like run across any of it in the sewers because I'm thinking classic sewer bombing
She's
here.
nope.
Oh.
No, what
That's
she can tell, what you can tell is that it was moved up to one of the sewer entrances and moved by a cart, but you lose all scent of it once it's topside.
that
There have
makes
been
sense.
multiple carts with multiple barrels worthy of black powder in them, all in very sealed barrels that you lose the scent of once they're topside.
Herald of Doom.
Yeah, we'll talk about that background later.
Yeah. So yeah, Len is going to get out of the sewers and he needs to find Frau Proust immediately.
Um,
And then he'll tell his team, but first she needs to know.
Okay, so going to the main hall, it's actually Rosa there as well as Wilma. Rosa, for like the last several days, like aside from the times where you've gone to, like take care of Heinzel and stuff like that, you've been here, like, hearing different people's troubles and kind of coming to watching Wilma work and how she works. So one of Wilma's rules is if you want change in the city, you have to pay for it. Does that make sense? But the thing is like the price that is charged is commensurate to what kind of a difference she thinks it will make in the city and also how much money the person asking has. So if you're like a very poor old lady with no real means, but you're willing to give over like what gilder you have to try to like see that a guard is stationed on a particular bridge a few times a week, like she'll make that happen. But if you are complaining about, the problems of a particular bridge and you're a very wealthy person, you want Wilma to fix it for you, guarantee you're paying much more than it would take to hire some guards to stand on that bridge yourself. Um, so Rosa has been sitting in the chair and like listening to people making determinations, probably using her abilities regularly to kind of get a sense of like most of the people that are talking to her, whether she thinks they're on the up and up and stuff like that. And Wilma has been sort of dealing with the Iron Princes as they approach to the main hall and like getting everything ready for their meeting, which is going to be here in the city hall.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Len is going to move into a shadow. Cat Len is going to move into a shadow, probably slightly apologetically wipe his paws off on something clothy because, sewers. And then he's going to uncat.
Yeah, and Zucker, like the butler who's constantly like moving around bringing food and everything like that, he's like the only one who kind of catches it. You know what I'm saying? Is he like opens his door right as like Len is uncatting, and there's just sort of goodness. And he kind of, looks around and he's like, nearly dropped the tray. Closes the door quickly.
Man. Is there anybody besides Rosa and Wilma in the room?
No, the room that Rose is in is busy. She's got like people that are approaching and stuff like that. Wilma is moving from room to is like speaking with the Iron Princess behind closed doors.
Oh, okay.
So he can like if Len wanted to like go and like hop in Rose's lap and she takes a break or something like that, we can do that too.
Tempting, but they've only had, a date or two, and that's a little forward. So he's instead just going to kind of from the shadows step out to where she can see him and give her, the smile and wave, and then the more kind of urgent.
Is there anyone I'm listening to at the moment?
Yeah. You have somebody who's like whole thing is that it's like a complex real estate dispute about who owns a particular property that used to belong to Earhart but was sublet. And like the person who's living there is trying to claim that they're owner, and like the person who was like managing the property on behalf of Earhart is trying to claim that no, they're the owner. And
Okay, what do I need to roll to look at this guy's archon? Like,
you want to like make a roll to like make a wise decision about it?
yes.
Okay. Then let's do a wits roll and give me a reason you think one of your skills should let you come to a wise decision about them.
So I'm going to use actually criminal.
Okay.
Because you said this guy worked for Earhart.
Yes.
So immediately Rose is like, he's probably like, he's into some gross stuff. So
okay.
So 5 keep 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, you can actually you may use your appearance on it because there's the whole like if you're pretty, people accept what you say much more easily.
So that's how many then do I need to add?
So that's 2 extra unkept dice for your stunning beauty.
Okay. 7 keep. No, unkept. I keep messing it up and there's nothing I can do about like
we'll know that the first roll you can't go back, so we're discounting it. So your final roll should be 7 keep 3.
7 keep 3. Got it.
Yep.
7 keep 3. 26.
Okay. So what you can tell is that like this person has enough properties that they're not going to be suffering. Does that make sense? Basically, what they really want is the money that they invested in the place to be repaid to them. Does that make sense? Like not like they're willing to let the property go so long as they're reimbursed for their costs. They're just like starting at a harder negotiating position because they expect that that's not going to happen.
Okay. Yeah. Dude's just the manager. There's actually somebody living in it. No, you don't own it, dude. And Rosa will how much did you put in?
He says in upkeep between different tenants or for this particular tenant?
This tenant.
He says for this tenant, he says I've done 300 guilder worth of upgrades to accommodate their requests regarding the doors and the windows, installing bars and other security measures. He says as well as replacing flooring that was due time to be replaced.
I don't know. Rosa wants to be like 150 and you're good, dude. Like, just get out of here.
Well, so here's the thing is that he would have been recompensated, but he would also been paying Earhart. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, basically, this guy was a property manager, and like this money that he's saying that he put in was his own expense above and beyond like the stuff that he would have paid as rent. So it's
Oh.
not an unreasonable ask. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Player knows nothing about rentals or anything like that. Yeah, okay then. Um have be paid back for what you have done, and then it is theirs. See?
Um, and he kind of looks to the rental, and the woman kind of she nods. She's like, his work is excellent. I will say that. And it wasn't my request. I don't deny that. There are ruffians on the street, and I do not feel safe sleeping without extra security measures. I don't have 300 guilder though. That would take me a few months to put
Is
together.
there a deal to be made between the both of you?
I think so. That is fair enough, and I certainly know that there would be additional work I would be happy to pay for once the property was mine, and I understood that I would not be kicked out at a moment's notice if I displeased Erhard.
Does that work for you as well?
He says yes. I think that's fair.
Good. All right. And she kind of dismisses them.
And it's been days upon days of like not easy decisions. Does that make sense? Like very rarely is anybody coming before you that's like a clear cut, like I'm an asshole. It's more like, you know what I mean? Like everybody feels like they have a case. And a lot of the times they're just like asking for help. Sometimes they're asking for like a loan or a temporary handout. And one of the biggest problems is that Erhard was the city's bank, and he's gone now.
Yep, okay.
So, and that means that even like on a small scale, people who want to start a business or whatnot, they don't have anybody that they can go to and ask for thousands of guilder to start something risky.
Yeah.
So,
It's now technically Rose's job to be judge, and
she's helping with it. And Wilma has been like happy to talk over decisions with her afterwards and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, they're like Zucker kind of like, we're going to take a break. Some snacks will be served in the lobby for those who have been waiting. We appreciate your patience very much. You know, he kind of like, he's like, let me go ahead. And he starts like handing out numbers to people so they know what order that they were in, so nobody's losing their line. And they're like, you know,
Yeah.
the mention of snacks, they're like, everybody's happy to file out.
yeah. Once they're gone, Rosa just kind of deflates sitting where she is.
Len will stride out of the shadows over to her, and he might be a little whiffy, so he doesn't get super close. He's like, I would hug you, but I have unfortunately been in the sewers. And that is why I needed to talk to you and then to Dame Proust.
She is with the Iron Princess. She has been.
Yes, and that may be the problem. I discovered somebody is making incredible amounts of gunpowder beneath the city. And I don't know where there's enough to make a great deal more, but I don't know where what was made has gone.
And she'll look to Zucker and Invadachi. Can we send them home? I know that
The Iron Princes?
not the Iron Princess. No, I don't think we can send them home. But I think
No, I would say not. But for the others, for the petitioners for the day, most certainly we can.
Thank you.
I will go attend to that. If you do not object, I would like to bear a message, at least outlining the broad details of this to Captain Vasya.
Yes, please do.
Please do.
Sorry.
And back to Len. We need to find Wilma and everybody else.
Yes,
they could be after a number of things.
Yes, but I think bearing on the interactions of the woman who inadvertently led me to this this cachet, I'm pretty sure that they're targeting one or all of the Iron Princes while they are here. Because why would they not be?
Do we know over time that they're all going to be together?
Yeah, during the meeting that they're going to have
And when is that again?
in 2 days.
Okay. We have 2 days.
Well, it was a nice little break while it lasted. I
Agreed.
think we should. I'm going to say this, if only because I think Honorine will set me on fire with the power of her mind if we fuck up her date with this little pending disaster. So we should let her have her night. Let everybody have whatever they're doing tonight. Start with you, I, and Dame Proust, and probably the guard captains. And tomorrow we can put this, in everybody's laps again.
All right. I guess the two of us are going to be investigating.
Yes.
Okay, well, you are most likely going to have Wilma and Vasya headed this way soon to
Mhm.
talk about it. So if you don't tell the rest of the party, then like things are going to start happening before the party's aware. Just as a point.
Should we're gonna have to we
Tell everybody but Honorine, maybe. Let's let her have her date.
see. She helped me with mine. She should get to have hers.
Okay, yes, that works. Everybody else, we can send runners too. Hans is a guard captain if nothing else should be involved.
He would probably be involved rather quickly.
Yes, and Gav knows the sewers far better than I do, so he may be of help in fleshing out this conspiracy.
See. Do you after I will find Luna and you find Gav?
Yes, we should
After
probably
talking to Wilma is what I mean.
after talk. Yes, we'll talk to
Okay.
them first, and then go find everybody else.
See.
Yeah. Zucker does know how to like politely intervene in a meeting with, Wilma and whatever Iron Prince is there. The Wilma, she comes out with, the appropriate like amount of urgency for like I was interrupted by a meeting with an Iron Prince, so I assume this is really fucking important. And there's no and like that is just sort of her default assumption. Like she trusts the council and that it wouldn't be interrupting idly.
Oh, holy shit, we're at the council now.
Well, she's called you a council from the start.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, once they're gathered, or if she just wants to start without the guard
Well,
captain.
Wilma just kind of like give me the short version.
There is. I have uncovered a conspiracy likely against the Iron Princes. A massive amount of gunpowder has been being made in the sewers. A great deal of it is not in the sewers now, which means it has been taken out of the sewers and distributed likely throughout the city. I suspect this because of the young woman I saw while I was getting Iron Prince Fischler a better suit for his date. I followed the woman who shot him a look of absolute utter hatred, which is weird because Fischler is like the nicest guy ever. Really, even not just as an Iron Prince, he's just a really nice guy. So I followed her.
Then and like Wilma has like a look on her face is like focus.
Sorry. So I followed her to the sewers. She's been crisscrossing through the sewers. I eventually found a spot with industrial levels of sulfur, charcoal, and they have actually been straining the waste from the sewers to get the niter to make gunpowder. And there's a large area that had barrels, very clearly had barrels. Those barrels are gone now. They were taken up to the surface and I lost them at the surface.
It says, all right, so we know how they're getting one of the three components. This is a large amount of sulfur to purchase. Unless it's being brought into the city another way. That's a potential thing to follow up on. As is the charcoal, I would assume. One could do it at home, but they would produce enough smoke that on a large scale that it would be noticed. So they would have to find an industry in which that could be hidden.
I've thought with the Iron Prince meeting coming up in 2 days and the venue being known, if there was any time to set up many barrels and set them off to behead the leadership of pretty much everywhere. That
Perfecto.
would be the day.
She says this kind of operation couldn't be set up in 2 weeks, from what you've described. This operation had to exist for some time before it.
This is true. It's more troubling.
What do we know of the woman who shot the look? Does anybody have an identity or a name?
I do not, but I can draw her. I'm not as good as Gav, but all of those sketchings I learned as well. I can give
Stupid
description.
question. Sorry to interrupt the scene. We've seen her before. I wasn't sure if it was just Gav or if Len was there when we went to Upman's the very first time.
I think Len was there because he started coming back to spy in cat form.
Yeah, because we saw her when we brought Benoit's jacket.
Oh yeah, we did, and Len was there for that. So he had seen her one other time, but that still just gives him
And
a better
she was
look.
grabbing the exact same thing as the first time.
I actually think that Gav saw her when he was there getting a coat for his date. I feel like Gav was by himself
Oh yeah.
when he saw her.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry to
It
rain
wasn't-
on the parade.
No, that's okay.
No,
That's okay. It was many moons ago.
Yeah.
My
No,
memory is not as good as Gav's.
He'll sketch her out and give a description. It's like, this is the best I've got.
I'll get this to Vasya. Get everybody together. See what you can do to follow up with Ardmore. If we can stop whatever is being planned, that is the best case scenario. I'm going to make it clear to the Iron Princes that for reasons of security, the actual location where they will be discussing will be held as a secret and disclosed to them on the day of the meeting. That said, I'm going to need a place where 5 Iron Princes can discuss all this in secret.
I would say the bear house might be one of the safest places. We're
Has a bit of a reputation right now.
see.
This can be discussed. Get with the council and give me a resolution on it. If you can have anything more about the identity for now, I'm going to have Vasya closing down the bridges and checking any carts that come through for further signs of explosives.
Grazie.
Oh, what about the wait, did Hans tell everybody about that? Yeah, he did. Okay. What about the old Wachtturm?
Is that an option?
HQ. It's Hans's now, apparently. They're not there anymore.
Make sure that it's available. I'm going to go speak to Vasya with what we have so far.
Okay. He's gonna look at Rosa. I think I've got some late nights again. I'm going to have to do some watching.
All right.
And Katrinia's stuck in my house still. God. Matrushka, damn it.
It will be all right.
I know.
I just have to relay this because it made me laugh, but in the cast chat, Han said, Secret Guard headquarters. And it felt like it needed to be known to the audience.
So I guess he's going to give Rosa a quick peck because he's still stinky and has a lot of things to do, but and then he's off to gather who he can. And I'm sure she's doing the same.
Yeah, she'll. Yeah, she's gonna tell Honorine. Oh, she's gonna find Honorine before the date because she just wants her to be in the know that, like, hey, I know you're going out with this person. I just want you to know that, like, his life is in danger. Just keep your head.
Keep a fireball ready, no big deal.
Be ready in case.
So paint the picture for me of what's. So she, please, picture.
So Rosa, because now that you have a house, so I'm guessing Rosa knows the address.
It is touch and go whether Honorine is actually at her house. The later it is in the evening, the less likely she is to be at her house.
Let's say that she's there because Waldo has generously offered to help unpack all of her recovered trunks
Oh,
and get them
good.
sorted into closets for her.
She's like, I have my winter dress trunk and my summer dress trunk and my hat trunk and my.
And Rosa knocks, and she just looks so nervous.
Who is it?
I'll get the door. It appears to be Mrs. Nix.
Grazie.
Oh yeah. Come in, Rosa. Come in.
Waldo opens the door.
Has Rosa been wearing her mask while she's doing the
No,
judging?
she hasn't anymore. She just doesn't wear it.
Okay. So she's gonna be like, come in, oh my gosh, hello. I'm so used to seeing you with a mask on. It's so nice to see your lovely face. Look at all my stuff I'm unpacking. This is great. Like, she's in a super great mood.
Mm-hmm.
She has
And
a
Rose
date
is
later.
just like, mm-hmm. I see that. You have your date later, see? That is with the Iron Prince, correct?
Yes.
Uh, Len found me while I was doing the work for Wilma today.
Yes.
There might be some danger for the Iron Princess, so I really just need you to please be cautious on your date.
Is that all?
As he explained it to me, someone is making explosives that they may be using on the Iron Princess. You know, Rosa isn't laughing. This is completely player. I'm having a hard time keeping my straight face.
You have the giggles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not like it's the first time that an Iron Prince has been in danger. They've been in danger the whole time we've been in Freeburg, so that actually doesn't bother me.
This might be a vendetta against them. I'm not telling you to not go on your date. I just want you to be cautious in case, like, something strange happens. I am worried about my sister.
She's going to kind of take Rosa's hands in hers and just be like, it absolutely thrills me every time you call me that. I'll be careful, I promise.
Grazie. I need to go find Runa.
Probably
Muted.
protecting her. What?
While Rosa is there and Waldo is there is a thump from the valise that Jimmy has blooded, and it kind of like spills over and a book slides out.
She's gonna kind of scoop up the book and like kind of glance at the title and like kind of like hold it, you know, like a library, like you hold a book against your chest, you know.
Okay. The book is called The Age of Imperators, and it is authored by Goskelen Leman, which is a nice name.
Okay. Well.
I have opened up there's a whole thing. I'm not going to read it on camera because I want to decide if I will read it if you are like diverting to it right now. Does that make sense? But she now has it.
So there's not just the book, there's a letter.
Well, so it's actually going to take her a little bit to find the letter because the letter is actually tucked inside of the book's binding.
Oh.
If you read it down to like the bottom, I will actually give you a wits roll to figure that out very quickly right now. Otherwise, it's going to be some sort of lengthy, like, what the heck? Why did my aunt send me a book and no letter?
Okay, wits roll. I do have keen senses. Can I use that?
Yes.
Okay.
I will also give you the benefit of noble for like knowing your aunt.
Okay. So that's 3. What do I add for keen? Is it 2 for keen senses, or 1?
2.
2 and then 2 for noble.
Yep.
Sweet. Sweet. Okay. So that's math. 7. $26.
Okay. Didn't you buy up your wits to 4 recently?
I was going to.
Oh,
I.
and then you were a few experience points short. That's right.
I was 1 experience point short.
Alrighty.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna just write another letter, and that will give me wits for.
Okay. With the 26, it's like as you're kind of like picking up the book and puzzling through it, I'm gonna give it the benefit of like Rosa being there, and having a bit of like a more natural Vidachi mindset as far as like secrets and hidden things. But she does kind of see a shadow in the binding of the book as it's opened and points it out to Honorine. So like you know how like they have on the first and the last page, they'll have the page glued to the actual book itself. The letter is tucked between the page and the book's cover. Along with an incredibly like it's a cipher. You recognize it as one. That is so like the key is the book. The cipher is the means of translation, and the letter is what is to be translated. As she's reading through the letter for the first time, it just seems to be a letter about Charlotte Rosen, Honorine's cousin, who is with child, and your Aunt Jemay just burbling about it for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs.
Siosa, I accidentally closed it. Can you reopen it, please? Thank you. Okay. Do you want me to read this?
It's going to take her a little while, but like Rosa will see that she's got a letter that apparently needs translation.
I will leave you do that. I am not good at puzzles.
And Waldo's like, that looks very exciting. I like puzzles. Can I help?
He's really good at search and find.
He probably is. Yeah, go find yes, please go find Runa and tell her I send my love. She's kind of like, why am I getting a coded letter through the porte
Grazie.
bag?
Yeah, I mean, Rosa knows Honorine well enough to know that like the nature of it concerns her. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's definitely it's not that Rosa doesn't want to help, it's that this is much there's something bigger going on that I gotta go take care of. I'm sorry.
Okay, bye.
What card was that?
What?
What card was that?
What
It was
card
at the bottom of the deck. It's Temperance.
Oh.
Okay.
So we're not screwed.
I haven't pulled a card yet.
Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit about the actual book that it is there because she actually has to, by nature of using the cipher, familiarize herself with the book. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because there are references within it that like don't make sense until she's kind of got an idea of like the structure and layout of the book. Because there's some like lore that is kind of important, I'm just going to read like this section. The book is The Age of Imperators, an epic poem written in Thean. It has been translated into Vidachi, Montaigne, Castilian, Eisen, and Avalon throughout the course of the book. The poem itself is several pages long. The translations are all accomplished by a single author who explains in the opening that it's an exercise for studying the linguistic differentiations between those 6 languages. It gives reasons why Usurin and Vestin are excluded that he then talks himself out of and promises to update the book as soon as he's learned those languages. You've never seen a scholar argue with himself on paper before and lose. but now that's a thing you've witnessed. The Poe itself is a long-form epic beginning in 424 AUC and stretching into 581 AUC. AUC is Ob Urb Condita, which is after the founding of the city. It's dating from the start of Numa, which is like the Rome of this world. Everything in the modern day is AV, Anno Veritas, in the year of truth, which is dating from the first prophet. Okay?
Okay.
So the poem begins at length with the conquest of Avalon by General Julius Caius and his return to Numa after decades afield. The Senate, afraid of his popularity and prowess, attempt to have him stripped of rank, framed in scandal, and then finally assassinated. Each challenge Caius survives, and at last, with the body of his own brother cooling after the last assassination attempt, Caius calls his army, marches into the city, and makes the Senate kneel before him. He is declared the first imperator and lives 74 days before another assassin takes his life. His son, Emperor Tigranes, makes himself the imperator. He declares the position hereditary, and he becomes the tyrant that the Senate had feared Caius would be. Under Tigranes, the temporary imperatorship becomes permanent. The Senate is disbanded, and the Republic of Nuba becomes an empire. Good imperators follow bad. For 9 generations, the empire is in decline. Eisen is lost to barbarian raids, Avalon disappears off the face of the map, and each good imperator is more incapable of reversing the tide of corruption and bloodshed stemming from the imperator before. 8 generations lead to the ascent of Clementes the Mad. A populist uprising turns his own praetorians against him, and the imperator's line is cut short as Clementes orders his soldier to burn Numa down before being killed by the Senate and removed. Democracy is restored, Numa is saved, and the poet on his deathbed genuflects about the atrocities of the last 150 years and then takes solace in the sincere belief the Senate would never again become corrupt and the age of the imperator would never come again. This is like the thing where anybody with like a dot of history goes, that's not how it happened. So, it takes quite a while to begin to decode things because the different ciphers are referencing different languages and different words, and like the whole key of it is like this represents this word in Avalon and this word in Castilian from this particular text of this page of the book. That's why it's impossible without the book to like translate the letter, and it's also impossible without the cipher. If you lacked the cipher, it would be a target number 53 to break this code and figure out what the letter said. Okay, the actual letter says, "My lovely niece, you didn't think I was just sending you a text to polish your grammar with, did you? Teresa's had a revenge, it seems, as I have been invited to the palace in Charus as a permanent guest. The Emperor's invitation was not to be refused, and I have been forced to set Isabeau managing Mont Saint Gabriel. I do not yet have a Miragos trapped in my quarters, so technically I can use my magic to leave, but I'm not certain how long such a luxury will last. A time may come where the family will have to act quickly and decisively. I do remember Prince Seeger. I've heard his reputation for boorishness since, and it has surprised me. When I met him, I was a young lady, and my mother was hopeful about making arrangements with him. This was before the War of the Cross had ended. We were worlds different. I was a nervous young thing with aspirations of scholarship, and he was a veteran commander who just discovered the love of his life, and the mother of his child had only been planning to use the baby as leverage all along. He treated me honorably, even kindly, given how skittish I was. Flash forward some years later, and the Treaty of Weisberg gave control of portions of the land to the Emperor. He bequeathed them and title to me. I received a letter but weeks later, and to my surprise, it was simply a lengthy explanation of many dangers of the forest, and that if we were to seek to settle within the lands, against his advice, that we should do so at Mount Saint Gabriel. To try to lumber the forest for home was folly. He described in quite visceral detail the fates of those who had tried. I attempted to strike up a relationship by correspondence, but after a falling out with his son, he no longer wrote me back. He knew the dirtiest jokes, the kind that could make mountain ears burn. I hope things go well with Fischler. We could certainly use such an ally, and one capable of sheltering the family if need be. I have no particular advice to offer, though a friend of mine suggests that the key to seducing any man is to make them believe they can be wholly themselves with you. I've heard no word of Tomas, but the general rumblings of the war are ominous. Bluntly, the war in Castile has ground to a halt. particular fortification of Montague I has been retaken by the Castilians, and no general before or since has been able to claim it. There are men enough for a lengthy siege, but not food enough, and all advisors are urging the emperor to recall Montague, to finish his conquest in Castile before turning to another country. The loudest of these voices, Admiral du Rachetis, was threatened with a hemp necktie to replace his ascot if he brought up the subject again. I will write again as I am able, but formulating these letters takes a bit more time than most. Be well, stay safe, give your sister a kiss from me. Duchess Shebang says. What are we laughing about, Sarah?
My cards are just being assholes again.
Cheeky fuckers, they be. Cheeky.
They're
All
so
right.
rude.
So that is the letter. That is also the book that is now in your possession. And just probably what is for her some grave news about Jemay. Waldo looks a little like concerned, like, oh, the puzzle didn't have a fun ending as I'd hoped. Like, should I put on some tea? I can't hear you if you're talking.
I was muted. No, I have to get ready. Thank you, Waldo. It was a very interesting letter. An interesting puzzle. Unfortunately, not much I can share, as you probably understand.
It's as I do. Well, I will let myself out. We can finish with the dresses later.
Oh,
If you
thank
found
you so
something to your
much.
liking.
Yes. Thank you so much. Like, she's going to, she was disturbed for a second, but she's, slipping back into, hostess mode. Totally thank you. You've been lovely. Let me walk you out. All of that.
Okay. So I'm intending to do the fish date later, but I do kind of want to, keep with the momentum of all of the everybody getting the Herald of Dooming. Hans, you get, messages from Len and from Vasya at the same time. Of Vasya's is report to the guardhouse. Len is we need you for the council.
Shit, which one do I go to? Oh god. Okay, he's like, oh god, this what's happening? I'm gonna go find my friends.
Okay. He has somebody within his unit that he can just say, go find out what Vasya needs. Tell him that Wilma has summoned me.
Yeah.
So that there's no
No, just he doesn't just ghost Captain Vasya.
Yeah. All right. So is everybody meeting at the Bear House or the main hall? The city hall.
Ooh.
Probably the beer house, just to not arouse any more suspicion than is necessary.
Yeah.
Kind of feel like we're becoming known to certain elements as troubleshooters or advisors, and showing up at the house might tip our hand a little more. So we're showing up at the anywhere but the
City
beer
Hall.
house. So City Hall, yeah. So showing up at the beer house would be the play.
On the way, Runa, if you would please roll for me a resolve check with your mastery level as your unkept dice, which is, I believe, currently a 2.
Uh-oh.
So wait, okay. So I'm keeping 4. It's 64?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. My brain
No, you're
short
getting good at
circuited for
this.
a moment there. That was wrong. Give me a sec.
Oh.
I clarified and still did it wrong.
That's okay.
58.
Holy.
Jesus.
That was a drastic change.
Exploded on 2 different dice and exploded twice on one.
That's a serious roll. So like you feel the clench in your stomach. Like you had been told by your mother that like over time, like the feeling of like using the rune to scry on others would give you a sensation when it was happening to you. And what you are certain of is that you are being scried on as you're walking
Oh.
by somebody with the mystery rune. I think it's mystery that does the scrying, right?
No, that is gateway.
Gateway. Sorry, gateway.
Mystery blocks.
I'm
the
sorry.
gateway
Yeah, somebody is watching you with gateway.
rune.
Um,
I want it to be my mom, but I don't think it's my mom.
you have a 58. And so there's like a moment as you're walking through the street where you actually see the image of your mother sort of like traced in golden light. And uh she just sort of like covers her mouth with that like my heart's breaking, but I can like see you. And it's like an intense relief for her to see Runa. Does that make sense? Like the emotion is something that like you cannot imagine somebody faking while wearing your mother's face. Does that make sense? Like as much relief to see you as you would feel if you saw her again.
And like, so she sees her mom, yes?
Yes.
Runa has a very similar look of relief on her face.
And she sees her mother kind of like cross her arms as if she would embrace her if she could. And then the seconds of the gateway are gone.
She also like makes the same like hug motion.
Okay.
And like her face kind of falls as she goes away.
All right.
I want to give Runa a hug.
She probably needs one.
I don't think Honorine is with them right now, but I want to give her a hug.
No, Honorine has a date.
Yeah.
Okay. So Wilma is going to be joining them at the Bear House. Vasya is not joining. He's got like the bare bones information. He's going to start working off of that. And there will presumably be more of an update from Wilma. So you guys get to the Bear House, you secure things off.
Runa is also going to make the conversation secure.
Okay, so she's using mystery to secure the room again?
Omen.
Yeah, Omen.
Omen.
Sorry, I thought you said
So that-
mystery. I thought you just said mystery was blocking.
No,
Okay,
I said I'm gonna secure our conversation,
okay,
which would be Omen.
okay, cool.
Anyone trying to listen in just hears
Make the roll for me real
English.
quick.
Simlish.
Sorry, just a moment.
It just all sounds like the one kid from Rugrats.
Or the wild thornberries.
31.
Okay. Rune snaps into place.
Oh, all right, friends. I hate to be the bearer of bad news again, but this seems to be my fated lot in life. So while I was getting Herr Fischler outfitted for his date with Honorine, which I very much hope goes well for both of them and did not want to interrupt, Herr Upman was speaking with, working with a young woman who not only clammed up immediately when we wandered in, like that sort of immediate shut off conversation that we don't want anybody else to hear this, but did not notice that I noticed when she shot Fischler one of the most hateful glares I think I have ever seen. This was suspicious because I was more than a little certain she did not know him, and more than a little certain that she had no reason, even if she did, she had no reason to hate him. So I did what I did, or what I do. I turned into a cat, and I tracked her down to the sewers that she appears to have been inhabiting for some time. making like multiple warships worth of gunpowder. There were huge stacks and piles of sulfur, charcoal, and as disgusting as it was, as I explained previously, they were filtering human waste out of the sewers to get the niter for the gunpowder. And the big problem is, for as much as they could make with what they have now, it was clear that they had made quite a lot already, and it was no longer there. I could track the movements of the barrels to the surface, where they were undoubtedly loaded on carts and distributed through the city. My initial worry was that this was a directed attack against the Iron Princes, and it still may be, but as Wilma pointed out, we've only really had this situation with the Iron Princes and them coming here for the last 2 weeks, and this operation has obviously been going on for longer than that. But it is still entirely likely that an operation with a different aim could be quite easily redirected to blowing up wherever all of the Iron Princes are having a very rare meeting together.
Friend Lynn, have a question. What did this woman look like?
Oh, I made a couple sketches. I know I'm not as good as you, but I've learned some, and he's gonna share out a couple of them.
I've seen this woman before at Herr Upman's.
Yes, well, we all knew he was some sort of spy agent.
When I went to start working for Frau Probst, delivering messages.
So let me interject.
Sorry.
Let me interject real quick because Rosa has also seen this person before. When she went to see the children's theater with the little sock puppets.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh, sorry.
She makes puppets for children.
Herr
Upman gives her socks.
And maybe that'll trigger Rosa and two. She was, I don't know if you guys remember the play that she was doing. They were like children's plays, but they were all like Viva la Revolution, Down with Authority.
Yeah, that was one of the first times I think Len and Rosa were alone.
He
Right?
was focused different thing at the time. So he may not remember that, but Rosa could remind him. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, that thing was happening, but we were,
Okay, so I also want to interject because Rosa is using her Arcana at the moment. So you're spending a drama die.
Yes.
And it's to predict the villain or henchman's very next action. In this case, it's going to be an ongoing action of that she is she's going to use the explosives to try to kill as many Iron Princes as she can. The exact location of where or whatnot, like I won't commit to that because she's doing it based on where she knows them to be. But she has enough, she either personally feels comfortable moving enough without being noticed, or she has enough help that she believes she can move enough like barrels of explosives into place to take out multiple Iron Princes. And her intention is to take out a group of them, not just because they're Iron Princes, or not just like out of a vendetta against one in particular. Does that make sense? The vendetta is against all of them.
How does this look to the group then when she kind of does she realize this or?
I think it's like just like Rosa. This is less of like a mystical effect at all times. Like
Okay.
in this particular case, just sort of like thinking back to the children's show and how there was like it ended with like a bunch of that particular one was more of a parable, but it still ended with a bunch of the powerful noble socks getting like beheaded and little like party streamers of yarn going everywhere, which would have been incredibly bloody in any other medium. Does that make sense? But because it was like a children's sock show, it was like kind of cute and charming. And like the kids were all cheering for it,
Yeah.
you know, because it was like what they saw was the bad guy died.
Yeah.
But reframed into like an adult context, it's like, oh, they're really talking about like murdering people.
Yeah.
French Revolution is done by the Muppets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's cute. And then when it's like actual people and there's blood and like organs everywhere, it's like less charming.
Yeah. So Rosa, while Len is speaking, just kind of gets more and more like, oh God, look on her face. And kind of just waiting for when she can kind of jump in.
Yeah, Len peters out around that point. He's like, this is what I know. This is what she looks like. This is what we have to look out for. I'm probably gonna have some sleepless nights because I'm gonna have to be owling my way around the different places the Iron Princes are staying. Because if they have, he's actually dropped the accent entirely at this point. Just straight dropped it and says if they think in any way that they're compromised, they will probably try to cut their losses and either bomb them all at once in their different locations or just concentrate on however many they think they could get in a run. So we're going to need extra highs on all of them with the understanding that that also may tip them off and update their timetable.
Either she has enough help to get it all done, or she knows she can do it by herself.
She's going to have help. There's no way unless she's like immensely strong, stronger than she looks, that she's going to be able to get all these barrels in place in wherever they need to be in 2 days. So I imagine this is a bigger conspiracy.
I am agreeing with you, but if she has help, we are going to need help to find her. And
Oh,
yes,
absolutely.
Rosa has dropped the accent.
Both of them are just like, nah, we're
No,
cool,
this is too
bro, right
serious.
now. This is too serious. Gav, do you think you can get the your eyes on the street?
I will speak to Felix and see what can be done. We have no eyes in Seinderweisen, but nobody comes in or out of that shithole anyways.
Well, we'll want to
The
try and
Philosopher's
cultivate
Stone.
some. Yeah, we'll want to try and cultivate some eyes in there if we can. Anyway, if we need to grease some palms, at the very least, we're going to get these kids a lot of good, healthy food for doing this for us.
And we're gonna need a healthy amount of guards at the meeting.
I don't know if that's going to help us. We need a plan to move if we realize that we're under attack before we know it.
My worry is, if all else fails, depending on how dedicated to the cause these people are, they may just try and ram, a series of explosive barrels straight down the throat of wherever the meeting's happening. It's not pretty, but it would still do the job with a lot of collateral damage.
Does anyone actually know this woman?
Know of her, but do not know name.
Oh, there's one other thing I would like Gab to actually make just a flat wits roll at this point.
The one stat I haven't brought to 3.
All right.
Flat wits?
No, you're not.
Flat wits.
Okay. A 13.
Okay, not gonna do it. Sorry.
No, that's good. I figured it was probably 15 or 20. Related question though. With everything that Len has given Gav, would he have put 2 and 2 together that some of this might be smuggled in? Because that is like the one thing we haven't dealt with.
Most likely, because It's almost certain. Because if like there isn't large amounts of it that people, I mean, you haven't heard about anybody buying sulfur in huge tracks or anything like that. The charcoal is something that could potentially be getting bought here in the city.
Through
Um,
Phoenix, yeah.
um,
Easy to find
because
charcoal.
yeah, it's definitely easier, but the sulfur is harder. The sulfur has to be mined and has to be brought in. Um, so he he knows of a smuggler.
During our adventure in the sewers, Hannelore and we found many maps. And in those maps, we found a place where the smugglers are probably holding up. If friends would like to come with Gav, we may be able
Oh.
to have conversation with them.
So smuggling is one of the biggest pastimes of the criminal underworld in Freeburg, period. He knows of a lot of places with different smugglers, but what I was meaning is that he knows probably one of the most well-known smugglers in the underworld. That was who your like
Yeah.
flash, the opening was about.
But it's not Tybalt. Diedrich Tybalt, the guy
No.
that, yeah.
No, Tybalt does slaves.
Which we still need to deal with. But
He's on the
Um,
list.
But Geralt is a smuggler with almost no reputation, an incredible amount of discretion, and Gav used to work for him as a kid.
I may know someone who is dealt in some of these materials to bring them into the city. Am not sure if he will talk to me. It has been many years, but Gav will try. I will reach out.
Do you want backup?
I'm not sure. Depends on the response.
I'm willing to
thinks.
come with if need be.
As am I.
I'm willing to watch from a distance, pretty sneaky like, just in case.
Gav is not worried, but it is not bad to have prepared.
No, that's actually a
If
good
this
point.
turns into trap, I am very hard bait.
It's true. And with Rona and Rosa with you, you should go back into it. You should be fine, and I really do need to be searching. Keep an eye on Upton's house. See if I can spot the lady again or suspicious barrels going anywhere.
Is Upman trust? Are we able to trust Upman now?
I don't
If
think
he
so. I have a feeling that he's involved in this somehow. I don't know if he's like a direct conspirator or just sort of a
He might be
neutral
fence, he might be
go-between.
middleman, he
Yeah.
might be directly involved. There is thief's mark on his house, noticed when we first went there. Do not recognize symbol. But there is something there.
all right.
Yes, and I've snuck in enough I didn't paw through his things, but I know he's got way more hidden items and self-defense mechanisms and stuff than a lowly coat maker or a humble coat maker, however he phrases it, would reasonably have.
Gav, you can make an art roll to recreate the symbol from memory.
Okay. And that's okay, art and keeping what, sorry?
Wits.
What's okay. That's 4. Keeping 2 is a 16.
Okay.
So reasonable.
So
And if
you
I remember, it
didn't-
wasn't that difficult a symbol.
No, what it is it looks like a sun and a moon and an eclipse. But what you remember that you didn't know before is you didn't read before. Now you recognize the letters, although they're in a language that you don't speak. Does anyone besides Honorine speak Thean?
think anybody with like any background in religion might.
No, it's
No,
an
I
actual
could-
language you have to purchase, so
Oh,
it
okay.
is an advantage.
Eisen, Theodora, and Vadachi invest in. Not
Fideli,
one.
Eisen, Vendel, and Usara.
Okay. So yeah, you know the symbol, and you know the words, but not their meaning. The words are Vero Caragio.
Yeah, it's like Gav doesn't try to pronounce the words. He hasn't gotten to that point yet, but this is symbol. I do not understand letters, but I think I may know someone who does. I mean, Mauschin is smartest person I know.
That is
Um,
fair.
So Wilma's arrival is at this point. Um, she's like, I'm so sorry. There were a great many Iron Princes to talk to. And breaking gently to them that they should be prepared to move at a last minute's notice was not a pleasant conversation. Many of them assume that there's some sort of ambush being set up through the method.
They are not necessarily wrong in that. And he'll
Um,
kind of recap along with whoever else wants to come in, just kind of what they've discovered, their, the woman's background, what they think is planned, the possible outcomes, and what they're kind of planning to do about it.
she's listening. Is Gav showing the drawing?
Yeah. The Frau Probst, can you read this? Because Gav cannot, and strangely, neither can anybody else.
Um, she says, I know that, and I know the symbol as well. She says, a number of pamphlets have been published in Montaigne bearing that symbol and that logo. Um, people who have been tied directly to acts of violence. They have called themselves the Velasquier. The name means true courage, and to my understanding, they are an order resistant to the idea of noble authority.
I mean, they're not necessarily wrong, but we still can't let them blow up all the Iron Princes.
So they don't believe in any nobles.
No, that they believe that the authority of one man over another is inherently immoral.
Again, they're not necessarily wrong, but even if they manage to, behead the beast that is the Iron Princes, somebody else is just going to step in.
See.
But such fanatics rarely see beyond their current goal. If we do this, everything changes, and then nothing changes. And a lot of people die for no reason.
I have heard rumors for some time that there's a cell of them within the city.
Well,
We believe we know where it is, or at least someone who does.
And we may have someone that you can send gods for now.
I really like his coats. He's very nice to cats, but once again, my worry though is that he won't, being kind of a middleman, he won't know enough, and claiming him now, like locking him up, is only going to tip them off and speed up the timetable. Like I said, if that happens, they may just try and cut their losses and bomb as many places as they can an Iron Prince might be and call it a victory.
Wilma says, we have guards on the bridges now looking for barrels of explosives. So the hand may well be tipped.
That's
Alright.
fair.
And he's like, perhaps have someone watch the children's theater. I would not like to go into why, because we don't need those people to know, but we think he's connected. And you can see Gav's like genuinely disappointed he has to say this.
Yeah.
She
So,
says, "Is there anyone else that we can follow up with?"
there's Upman, the code maker.
Well,
There's
she kind of
Illuminator.
she says, "You think Upmet is involved in the cell as well?"
That is where we found Symbol.
And
on
where
his
I ran
house.
into the woman.
And we know she gets her puppets there effectively.
She's been seen there more than once. And I'm not proud to admit this, but early on during the whole coat conspiracy, I did meow meow my way into his house to look around, and there is far more than a simple coat maker going on there with all of his security measures and what am I looking for here? Just bits of obvious skullduggery if you can get into the house itself.
I don't know if you remember this or if you're omitting it deliberately at school, but she remembers that Upman had a ladder to a basement as well that was
Oh.
like designed to be concealed.
He did not. No, I forgot.
That's why I was asking that again.
Yep. And it's like he's got his own secret way into probably the sewers or at least a unknown underground storage area that I saw while I was in there.
She looks to Hans and she says, "If you would speak with the captain of the guard of the Merchant's Quarter and go with him to make an arrest of Upman and bring him to the city hall for questioning."
Do you want me to search his house on the quiet while he's gone? Or do you want me out looking for the woman in barrels in a feathery form?
I will trust your discretion as to which you think is more useful.
God damn it, I've got to make choices.
I will make some modifications to the guards' shift rotations to get better coverage of the sewer entrances throughout the Finerhead as well. Oh God, this is never get a break, do we? But
I'm sorry,
yes,
my
as
I'm so sorry.
as soon as you would as soon as you desire, I will go and we will deal with Upman.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna just everybody kind of breaks from there. What I would like to know is, so during this, what is Runa doing? Hans is going to make the arrest. Gav's looking into the smuggler that he knows. Len is flying around. I want to know what Runa and Rosa are up to.
I have no idea.
If it's backing up Gav or Hans or whatever, that's fine too.
One of them could go watch the puppet show area, see if that woman shows up again.
Bruna might go with Gav.
Oh, Rosa was gonna go with Gav.
Well, fuck.
Does Runa have criminal? That's why I ask.
Oh, girl, no.
Rosa does. Okay.
No, Runa doesn't have any useful information for this scenario.
Yeah, Rosa is a criminal, so.
Well,
Good
but
for
you do
you.
have the
You can
ability
go.
to spy on people remotely, so and you also
I
have
do!
so
I have a useful ability, but
have
no
so many useful
information.
Your friends who make ships might also have an idea of like what's coming in and out of the city too.
I wouldn't know this, but they're connected to the criminal underground.
you know he makes
Probably
ships,
by
and you know
ships.
that like you have
If
a pretty
only
good idea
Arthur
that
mentioned anything.
Well, we also know that like a lot of this stuff comes in and out of the city by boat because if it goes through the ring of death, then it tends to get attacked.
River.
So
I can go talk to Meat Mountain.
yeah, you have a so you have a reason to talk to Meat Mountain.
Yeah.
So So I'm thinking, I know some people said they can go like half an hour longer, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to go and do the fish date and we'll come back because everybody has things that they're following up on. Rose is gonna be backing up Gav. Um, Hans and Lennon looking at the roadways. And Rune is gonna talk to the Meat Mountain and see if he knows anything about smugglers from that side.
I love that we're just calling him Meat Mountain.
We know,
Guy has a
we know who it
name.
is. He
Yep.
does.
There's Meat Mountain and Mommy Meat Mountain and just, colorful names. But over to the date.
Yes, fish date is
Yay!
important.
Fish date,
Okay.
fish date.
I need this.
Fish date, fish date.
So the actual arrival at Honorin's place is okay. I've stated before that Freeburg just does not have the space for like proper carriages. Almost everybody like walked everywhere. And the most that people are really able to get onto the bridges is like hand-pulled carts. And even like horse-pulled carts are sort of restricted to like the outer rings of the city, because they just can't get deeper. So the he's a few minutes late, but it's as you know, like he appears outside of her home and everything. You can tell he's got like a brand new blue coat that likely matches the last message that he sent as to like what he would be wearing and everything. And like Waldo is kind of like, he's here. In excitement on her behalf.
Honoring, does Waldo like live nearby or?
Well, yeah, so like he's got townhouses and his house is like the one at the end.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And you can tell that after everything that happened, he feels kind of like specifically conciliatory to Honorine. Does that make sense? And
Okay.
like he's just like he's not a doormat, but like he's somebody
just a
who doesn't
very
really
nice guy.
mind being told what to do. Does that make sense? And Honorine seems to just naturally sort of like have things for him to do.
Okay.
And so it makes him feel like, making up for all of the business with the Inquisition being allowed into her home.
So Honorine, when she hears that he's here, she is mostly like she looks like she stopped. Well, I don't know if like Fischler would know this, but she actually looks like she stopped getting ready, like partway through getting ready for his date. And she comes to the door, like, so she's got like, I don't know, she's still got like maybe she's got her makeup done, but she hasn't changed yet. So she's wearing like a day dress. And she comes to the door and she's actually got a note in her hand. And is it a carriage that he appears in, or
No, he's on foot.
or like okay. And she comes to the door and she's like, "Oh, you're here already."
I apologize. I was running a little late.
No, that's fine. She quickly is like folding up the note. And I don't know if you want to have him make a roll to see that it was a note like canceling their date.
I think he probably just doesn't like it's gonna be fine script from like a Montaigne hand. And I don't think that he has the chance right now to see it. He's also not like looking at the letters in her hand. He's looking at the dress she's wearing and her hair. And
You look very nice.
he kind of like he has a present in hand that he kind of like I have the feeling he says that now might be a burdensome moment.
No, Koenig. I I'm delighted that you're here. I just let me go get my coat, and I will. Actually, I could I have you just come on in, and I'm just going to have you wait in the sitting room for a moment.
Certainly.
And
yeah,
she'll
he-
like get him set up in the I will be right down. She doesn't have time to
offers the
change.
gift.
Oh.
This is if it encourages you.
If it encourages
That was a terrible. Just if you go ahead, and if you like it, then excellent. And if not, leave it behind.
And Honorine is like, she's clearly charmed, like, so she's I apologize. I just received a little bit of family news, and I lost track of time, so I apologize. I am very happy you're here. This is very thoughtful. I will be right down. I apologize for my less than warm greeting. It's not. I've been looking forward. She's like just like making her apologies. Like
He kind of smiles and he says,
she's a little flustered.
I have been an Iron Prince for some time, and not every caller who has come to call upon me has arrived at a time that I have found opportune. He says, I don't take it personally. I'm happy to see you.
Happy to see you too. You look wonderful. Okay, be right back. So she's going to run up to run over to her room or whatever. And she's going to actually send one of her staffers, one of her maids or somebody or a runner, fuck. She's going to send a runner to the bookshop. And it's going to be just a very quick dashed off note telling him she would like to discuss some of their reading by the tree in the morning.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
To the bookstore.
Is the I guess an actual part of the message, or
No.
just you're looking for words? Okay.
Either this evening or tomorrow morning. Like she's putting either this evening or tomorrow morning. And then she's crossing out this evening. And then so she sends off her note. And then she I don't know, pulls on like an overdress, like basically like fancies herself up a little bit, puts on a couple of ribbons, like does the best she can with her house dress, which is totally not what she was going to be wearing, but it is blue, so it's fine. It's totally fine. This is all fine.
Is she opening the present while she's doing this?
So in Montaigne, so I know there are different gift cultures, and in Montaigne, or where she grew up, is it customary to open a gift in front of the person so they can have the reaction, or is it customary to open a gift later?
In Eisen, so in Montaigne, it's a matter of when the presentation comes. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And he had specifically given it to her and said if she likes it, she can wear it. Like
Right.
Or she can bring it with her, he said.
She's gonna open it.
Okay, so it's a necklace that's been done with like several kinds of they're not like gemstones, but they're smaller stones that have been cut to fill the frame of the necklace, almost like stained glass. Does that make sense? And it looks like a chapel inside of a valley with a lit window from within.
So it's like a whole ass stained glass piece of
It's
art.
very tiny. It's very
okay.
like it's very fine work. You know what I'm saying? But like that is the design of it, is like a little like piece of stained glass, except that the glass is actually like semi-translucent gemstones that have been cut perfectly to fit to that frame.
That's really pretty, and she's definitely gonna wear it.
Okay. Also, she knows that is the crest of the Fischler house. I assume
Okay,
she's done a
so
bare modicum of research on the Fischlers before. Yeah.
oh, so actually she's not gonna wear it yet, but she comes down with it in her hand. And she's like smiling, beaming at him, and she's like, "This is beautiful. Will you help me put it on, please?"
Oh, I'd be delighted to. And you notice that he's got like the outside of it like rimmed in blue. Does that make sense? So, like a kind of like turquoise stone for that. But he manages to not like fumble it as he gets it around her neck and closes the clasp and everything.
And she'll turn around and be like, what do you think?"
And he kind of like looks down and then like snaps his eyes back as he draws attention.
And she's gonna
As she kind of realizes like most of eyes and dresses are like up to the neck. That is not the fashion of Montaigne.
It is not.
Okay.
Okay. And she's gonna laugh, and she's like, as flustered as she was when he first arrived, like she's in it now. She's in the moment. So
Okay.
she's going with it, and she's not gonna really let herself be flustered more.
All right. So he takes her on a walk that's like basically to the river on like the southern side of Flucifer. And there is a boat that has been prepared for the two of them. It's like a full like fishing boat. It's probably like a larger boat that's being purposed for fishing. Does that make sense? That would normally just be like storage or moving things up and down the river. There has been like a little curtained area so that like she could like be under it and out from like the starlight and moonlight if she wanted to, with like chairs, almost as if it were like a tent on top. Does that make sense?
Pavilion.
Yeah, like a little pavilion, but it's like set at like the edges of it so as to make like a little canopy at the very end of it that is for her. He has like two fishing poles that are set up near the front and like some seats so that she could sit next to him like while they fish. And there's also like a little area for fish preparation. And what at first strikes you as like insanely dangerous is like a little like stove for like making like cooking fish like on the boat itself. But it looks like it's designed in such a way that it can be done on a wooden boat without casting sparks or anything like that. And there's some like burning coals in it and stuff like that at the moment. So and to her surprise, he like handles the oars himself. He like moves it out into the river, drops an anchor, does not seem to have any physical difficulty, even though it's like a larger boat. But it's like by expertise that he pilots it and manages it himself.
Damn.
Um,
I want to see him without his shirt on now. That was out of character.
He says, I would like to say that your friend Len, I asked him a great many questions about you, and he was very circumspect in his answers.
Oh, good.
He says, but he did say that in your time in Freeburg you had been kidnapped.
Well, yes.
He says, if you don't feel comfortable talking about it, I don't intend to pressure you, but I am curious.
It was all of a piece with the Inquisition, so it came along with the attempted burning, and they're not very fond of me. I don't know how fond you are of the Inquisition.
I thought on the objection aside, I can say categorically not.
Oh, well, that's good. That might have put a damper on future dates if you were a little more leaning toward the Inquisition.
He says, no, I think categorically it's the very worst of the church.
Agreed.
And he kind of I can show you a few casts if you like, or we can just try. And I promise, you already have your hooks in me, so if a fish hook ends in me as well, I will not take it personally.
I don't have any hooks. I file my nails. Thank you so much.
He smiles and kind of like moves to like bait the first hook and like does hers for her.
What's the bait? Is it squirmy? Is it something that squirms?
It's a very not alive anymore cricket.
The poor cricket. That
Um,
wasn't in character, but she's like she's good with letting him do that. Okay.
And he like explains how the cast will work, and and, like kind of the motion of it and everything. He displays it almost effortlessly, casts it out into the river. Um, and I'll leave it to you as to if she manages to like emulate it well, or if it's awkward or
I don't know. It depends on what skill it or what trait it uses.
commoner.
I mean, she has that.
Okay,
Really?
so it's probably easier than it comes more naturally to her than she expected.
Yeah.
That time spent kind of doing things around the castle and getting to know the peasants and everything in the village pay off.
Well, and I think she
Um,
maybe like as a small child, like she'll probably like chat about like, oh, as a small child, like some of the I don't know, children of her staff or whatever, like some of the other children around the estate would, they wouldn't cast, but with a string and a little hook, and this is
yeah.
a little bit familiar.
He's like really easy to talk to. Um, the He talks about kind of his first days as becoming an Iron Prince. It makes mention of his advisor, who is not here, but is like handling things in Freiburg, and that she's like a former battle commander, like a very practical, no nonsense kind of woman. And like during the first few years that he was the Iron Prince, she kind of went about challenging him in different ways. Like telling him they had less food than they did, telling him that they needed these different supplies, and basically setting challenges to him to see what kind of a person he was and whether he was capable of responding to different emergencies. But like what he remembers most was like the way that she taught him to like interact with nobility, and to try to like be a nobleman in the same way that he might command an army. Um, and that didn't really work with him because he didn't have any more experience with that. um,
And this person is looking after things for him in Freiburg or back home?
Back home in Fischler. She's not
Okay.
here.
Okay.
He's already written and let Francisca know that he has a date, and Francisca sent back a number of questions about you.
Oh, like what?
But we can go through them if you want. I thought some of them were a little rude.
Well, maybe we'll save the list of questions for later.
Um,
Perhaps just one or two? Is there anything you would like to know?
yes, I'd like to know why you're in Freiburg.
Well, the social scene is better than in Shrews. Politics. Montaigne politics. We aren't the most powerful house. And sometimes it's dangerous to stay there. But my expedited trip from home to here was very convenient, even if it was courtesy of the Inquisition. Originally, it was supposed to be a murder, but things happened, I suppose.
And he nods like he draws her into like the seat next to him, and just it's continually like more questions, very gently kind of like dragging her story out of her. He seems to very much respect it, like, I don't really want to talk about that part, or something that she seems interested in avoiding. Does that make sense? He wants to know what she wants to talk about and is comfortable talking about. Um, and like for every story she shares, he shares one of his own. You know, like his first time actually, like, uh, he describes his first date with a noblewoman as the Iron Prince of Fischler.
Oh no.
And just how like absolutely disastrously it went. And like he's sent 3 apologies to her family in Castile since the date, just to avoid any possible like long-term, duel for my sister's honor kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
And she's very curious about him. Like, how did you become, did you find a mine, or like, did you, how did it happen that you became an Iron Prince, and what did you do before, and what did you want to do? Like, she's very curious about it.
so the lands that I occupy now once belonged to Seeger, as well as some belong to Wish and some belong to Hilgrund.
Oh, he's a
And
gem.
as the war was, I could tell you stories. As the war was ongoing, my village were poor fishers, and they were being taxed beyond any peasant's ability to pay and feed themselves. So I decided I was going to find a Draconite mine and become an Iron Prince.
Oh, just like that.
I did. I was 14. I and then I did. He says I set about looking. I climbed the mountains. I uh, I swam into lakes. He says I understood that Draconizen appeared sometimes in places where one could find clay. And so I had reasoned that the mountains had probably been searched in and out. And so I began to search lakes instead. Um, and I found some, and I brought it to the Imperator, and he made me an Iron Prince.
And you lived happily ever after.
Oh no, it's been a ride since then.
Was it?
The Imperator promised my little sister to the Gaias of Usura, and that was an event. Um, Says I've done my best to make an accord with the other Iron Princes. I'm the only one who bears none of them any particular ill will, nor holds any grudge. He says so when I asked them all to come here, I was probably the only person who could do that and have them all arrive.
I I really I think it was very kind of you to do that for someone that you had no reason to do it for. I mean, Logan Seeger is nice enough, but he's not anyone to you, and he has no power, so I think it was very kind of you.
He's thoughtful for a moment, and um, he says it's strange that you use kindness. I don't think Logan Seeger would particularly enjoy being the Iron Prince here at Freeburg. But what I do see is somebody who's endured trials and might just rule with some compassion.
Maybe.
I don't know. I've been lucky before. I'm willing to roll the dice again.
Are you always lucky?
It's kind of a thing, actually.
Chicka wow.
Bison!
He just kind of smiles. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who thought I'm going to go find a Draconizen mine and become an Iron Prince.
Not me, but certainly a lot of people.
I'm not more qualified than anybody else. I'm just luckier, and I know that. But I think it's that awareness that is my best defense.
Well, it's true. I imagine there's many 14-year-old boys that decided they were going to go find a mine and become an Iron Prince. Or maybe not. I'm not very well acquainted with 14-year-old boys.
Most are much more interested in 14-year-old girls.
That I remember.
I mean, I was too. It's just I was tongue-tied around them, so the Draconized mind seemed easier.
It was easier to find a mine of special like space metal than it is to talk to a girl.
He kind of smiles.
Mood, buddy, mood.
He says, "You're easier to talk to than most of them, though, and I'd love to see you again."
I would like to see you again. I think that would be very nice. Do you
And he
dance?
kind of like, I do. You should. The reason your rod is jumping like that is because there's a fish on it.
Oh, I caught a fish.
Do you want some help pulling it in?
Yes, please.
And he has her stand up and he moves behind her and like puts his hands on the fishing rod and like, so she's kind of in like a hug, but not quite, and then pulls the fish in. We're gonna kind of like fast forward through things from there. He has like a little screen that he does like the fish murder behind. So it's just suddenly magically like fish steaks that he puts onto the grill. They have a meal. It winds late into the night. And he walks her home. He doesn't go for a kiss, and you kind of knew enough about Eisen to know that like a man of gentlemanliness was not going to try on the first date. Does that make sense?
Unless he's Prince Seeger.
He only wanted one on the cheek, and he never claimed to be a man of gentlemanliness. But after leaving her at the door, he says, "I look forward to seeing you again."
I had a wonderful time. Thank you so much.
So did I.
She just sort of like squeezes his hand and waves to him and thanks him again and says goodnight.
And he does like take her hand after she squeezes, and he gives her knuckles a kiss, and then he turns away.
That's so sweet. He's so sweet. This is what I thought was going to be the cold open last week.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're not.
I want to do one more thing before we fade out, which is, Runa, how long is it before she makes an attempt to view her mom in the same way that her mom viewed her?
She's probably just gonna try, even though mystery rune and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I'd like you to go ahead and make the roll. If you'd like extra rounds, you have to call raises beforehand. Otherwise, it's just going to last for a few seconds.
I would like to call 2 raises.
Okay.
Sorry, was that too loud?
Nope, that's fine.
A little bit? No, because he can hear me in his headphone, in the mic. And I would also like to use solitude. I won't call races on that. It gives me a +2 to result.
Okay, so
no,
the first
2
one,
unkept dice.
the first one is going to be to give you 2 extra unkept dice. It's target number 15.
Cool. $22.
Okay. So you got that, so you'll have 2 extra dice. Now, because you called 2 raises, it's going to be a target number 30 instead of 20 for the gateway. So go ahead and roll. your
But that
resolve plus
that
your
is 9 dice I'm rolling.
so okay. So you've got a resolve of 4, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got 3 in the gateway knack.
Yes. And then 2 uncut dice.
Okay. Yep, that sounds right
So
to me.
that's
So
that's
9
9.
keep 4.
Ooh.
Oh,
If you
I was
spend a
about to
drama
just
die,
type that
you
into
get
the
it.
chat.
If you spend a drama die, it'll be 10 keep 5.
I'm gonna do it. Imagine I do this and the rune's still up.
I promise that I would not like take your drama die
I'd
from you.
leave.
I'm willing to be a jerk about
44.
like fish dates, but not drama dice. That's serious.
44.
The look on Glory's face. Okay. So the gateway rune only allows you to spy on the living. You've learned that before, right?
What are you doing?
You see your mother,
Okay.
and you see her in the company of Kavi. Kavi seems to have like a kind of golden energy that's like surrounding him. And you see that your mother, she appears to be invested in lands, but something is different about them. Does that make sense? Like the mountains and the islands and stuff like that, they're familiar to you, but they're not the same. They're not the same as the archipelagos that you grew up in. I don't know if I pronounced that right. I think
Archipelago.
archipelago. Thank you. There are massive tracts of land that are connecting areas that you know islands should be and are not. Does that make sense? So for like a moment, you're just sort of getting this view of like, it's almost like a large stretch of land, which an archipelago is cut out of and not there. Um, and you see your mother is like moving quietly. She's keeping low to the ground. She has her sword in hand. She's very clearly like being stealthy, and moving amongst what looks like almost like 9-foot tall Vestin that are covered with runes across their arms, and across their bodies. Kavi is with her, and he's kind of like sneaking from point to point ahead of her. And the the longhouses that are in this place, um, they're familiar and they're not. They look like the longhouses that are from your home, but like almost as if they were like meant for giants instead. Um, and you watch as your mother kind of like turns and peers into one. And inside of it, you see there are bars of a prison that look as though they're made of pure energy. Um, they go from like the ceiling to the floor of this longhouse, and you see a man inside of it. He looks like a giant, um, like fully probably like 9, 10 feet tall, but with so much muscle that he looks distorted and gross. Does that make sense? Like think if you put like took like a really heavyweight bodybuilder like on competition day when they're completely jacked, and then added like a Hulk level of muscle mass on top of that. All right. Everything is sort of like swollen, but also like, you can see huge veins and everything. And he is slamming constantly against the bars. The vest and guards that are surrounding him are inured to it, like so used to it, they're not even acknowledging it. And as he turns and slams against one of the bars, you see that there is a rune that is inscribed on his back. Um, and the rune is flesh.
Okay.
And um, the rune of, wait, sorry, actually, that's the wrong one. Not flesh. Strength. Strike.
Okay.
Which in the lore that you know, like, strike was the first of the living runes to go mad. And then the image of your mother disappears.
What the fuck?
And that's where I'm going to drop the curtain for tonight.
What the fuck?
Sorry.
What the fuck?
So, everybody, thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate everybody who's watching either, in chat or is watching us on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment. All of it is great for engagement and for helping others to find. And if you're watching on YouTube and you have not been by our chat on Sunday, please come by. The chat is always lively. So I am gonna close this out there. Here in Dirty 20, there's a mantra that we use to help deal with the world that we live in. And it's that if you cannot be kind, be nice. And bear that in mind as you're going through your lives. And that's where I'm going to close out because I'm just like word salad right now. So, thank you very much. We'll see you next Sunday. Good night.
Night, y'all.
Bye.
Good night.